At 12 noon, about 20 people came to our house. My mother told me they were all witches. I'm Acadia Einstein, and this is Strangeful Things.
Sheltering in place is not advised, as your survival cannot be ensured in that scenario.
Love has practically caused me to just get you destroyed.
Unsolved, unresolved, and super complicated.
Strangeful Things.
Welcome, everybody, to Strangeful Things. My name is Acadia Einstein. This is the third time that we've done this. I'm here with Shuey.
Wow, 3 takes. Wow.
You're
suffering.
We haven't done... Usually, 3 takes will get us maybe 4 shows. We don't look back.
Yes.
We just go straight ahead.
Just keep going forward, baby.
For those of you who have never listened to Strangeful Things before, we tell you terrible stories and try to make it a little fun. Because, geez.
Yes.
You don't need to be moping around all the time. Especially.
Yeah. Just because your arms get cut off doesn't mean you're just going to lay there.
That's true. I mean, that was last week, but still.
Exactly.
So this week...
Just tying them together.
Remember A Day in the Life by the Beatles?
Uh-huh.
The song?
Yeah, it's a great song.
And he says, 4,000 hoes in Blackburn, Lancashire. Which I don't know what that means. But Lancashire is where the story that we're going to talk about takes place.
Get out of here. Mm-hmm. Is it sheer or shire?
Sheer.
Says you.
All right. Lancashire, and it's in the north of England. And we're going to go all the way back to the year 1612.
Nice.
Yep. That is a long...
Nothing bad happened back then. How could we possibly do a story about that?
Well, we're going to talk... Well, I'll tell you why. Because we're gonna talk about the honest to goodness oppression of Catholics.
Nice.
Not the oppression that my grandmother repeatedly told me about how when she was little, she got hit in the head with a bottle and called a dirty, rotten Irish Catholic, which I have no doubt was true. But right. I also don't believe that would justify a ensuing lifetime of hating basically everybody who wasn't an Irish Catholic, dirty, rotten, or otherwise. As a matter of fact, being dirty, rotten was negated by you being Irish in her eyes.
Oh, good.
But the English, you know, they like to lord their shit over us, even though we learned all our terrible stuff from watching them.
Exactly.
And they had their own church and whatever. We're not telling that story.
No.
Because we're sticking in 1612. Now, we already did way back when, we did the story of the Salem witch trials. That was in 1692. And that was basically some dumbass kids talking shit and getting some people hanged and a guy squished by a rock.
Yeah.
And where did we learn it? We learned it from merry old England. So let me give you a little bit of the cast of characters we got going here. Because I'm not going to lie, this story might have some of the best names we've ever had.
Sweet.
There's Elizabeth Southerns, which does not sound good at all, except that everybody called her Demdike. Oh, look, it's Demdike.
That's pretty cool.
And her kids, for some reason, their name is spelled device. Now, I listened to English people say it, and they said Devis, but I'm going to say device.
Huh.
Because I think Elizabeth Device is a marvelous name and also the kind of alias a terrible spy would invent. So Demdike was the head of one of the two families that we're going to be talking about.
Yeah.
And she was basically 80 when all this shit got stirred up,
Oh my.
which means she had already been whatever she was for like decades by the time it all caught
Yeah.
up to her.
She was
But the
twice as old as the next person in the town.
The other family was the Chaddixes.
Chaddix.
Annie Whittle, otherwise known as Chaddix, was Demdike's arch enemy.
An arch enemy, eh?
I
got a
don't know
couple of
how
those.
you get to be arch. Like,
Yeah. Well, there's a whole process. If you believe the Venture Brothers, there's a whole process.
arching is a thing. That's true. You know, but they upset me because fuck them. They fucking had it in their fucking hands.
Oh yeah.
Those
We're gonna
fake
do
bastards.
we're gonna do one season every 4 years.
Yeah. They were way ahead of their time. They could be Netflix or HBO now. Back then, they were just
Yeah.
assholes.
Hmm.
Slow assholes.
Just assholes.
So, the Chaddixes and the Demdikes, shut up, the Devices, they had beef.
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna say a bunch of names at you, and you're not gonna remember them,
Yeah.
but then they'll come up
Oh,
later,
awesome.
and I'll remind you.
Thank you.
Demdike was the matriarch. Elizabeth Device married John Device and had Alison, James,
Many
and
little
Janet.
devices.
3 little devices. Allison, James, and
I
Janet.
had modem, printer, and fax.
No,
I couldn't think of another
it's
device.
Printifax. So they had the Device clan on the Demdike side. On the Chaddix side, there weren't as many,
Right.
but there was Anne Redfern and Mary Redfern, her daughter. And also Chaddix's other daughter, Elizabeth Whittle.
Huh.
Right.
I like how some names you read funny and some you don't.
Well, I mean, I got tired. I mean, Elizabeth Whittle's,
That helps the listener know which ones is supposed to be funny.
to be fair, Elizabeth Whittle's nickname was Bessie.
Aw, little Bessie.
See, I would automatically go to Old Bessie.
Like a cow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. You don't know what she looked like.
Fair. But you know what I do know? I do know the origin of the beef,
Uh-oh.
according to Alison Device.
Is beef an appropriate thing to say? Because I don't know that they really... Did they have cows in England?
I don't know what they... Well, they had to.
So they have
How the fuck
pork.
how did cows make it?
Become a
Like,
thing.
when were there wild cows
Yeah,
that weren't
exactly.
eaten by everything else immediately because they're so delicious? Like, oh, I sure believe in evolution now.
Just see some like huge like predator being like, oh, the marbling, and this one is just
Exactly.
fabulous.
10 years before.
Yeah, I don't know how wild cows exist. They couldn't have existed.
Yeah, I don't know what they were. They used to be probably dolphins. Anyways,
More than likely.
in 1602, or just like 1600, according to Alison Device,
Yeah.
Mother Chaddix was she got been caught stealing once when she was 5 from the Demdikes. What did she steal?
Uh-oh.
Clothes and oatmeal, which
Uh-oh. Did they take our finger for that?
no, but clothes and oatmeal
Or the
sounds like
stocks?
it sounds like a 90s album name. And you can't tell me that it doesn't. You can see some
The latest from
asshole.
Smashing Pumpkins, clothes and oatmeal.
Yeah, some dipshit wearing Tevas and a fucking Baja that smells like patchouli, arguing that Clothes and Oatmeal is by far their best album, even though it's not the most
Oh, that's their
commercial.
best.
Fucking douche. Fuck you, Jeremy. So apparently Chaddix, when like confronted with the clothes and oatmeal crime,
Right.
completely fucking doubled down and told the father, Mr. Demdike, whose name wasn't Demdike, his name was Christopher Holgate.
I don't understand oldie time names.
He said, "You listen to me. You're going to pay me oatmeal for a year, or I'm going to witchcraft you, Idol. But good. And it's going to be terrible because witches, and I am fond of oatmeal." So the father was like, "Well, this sounds like a good deal to me. You're going to get 8 pounds of oatmeal a year. Just don't cast any hexes on my family."
What? All right. God, stupid.
I mean, he made a deal. And you know what? He probably went home, and his wife, Demdike, was like, "Well, what'd you do?" And he was all embarrassed because he didn't want to admit that he had given in to the witch and paid her the oatmeal blackmail. So he kind of like tried to, "I'm the man of the house all the time." Some motherfucking bullshit like that. "I called the garage. Don't worry about it." And then, supposedly, one fucking year he doesn't pay his oatmeal witch tax, and he dies.
Hot damn!
But before he dies,
they should have turned him into a chicken or something.
We'll see on his deathbed, he said, "I was killed by Mother Chattox. Something. And that's enough for him.
Something.
And beyond that, according to there's a book that was written at the time about this case that I did not read. However,
nice.
The stuff that happened before the trial, I don't know how much of it was quote unquote admissible, although when we get to the trial, you'll see that most things are.
Pretty much everything is. Yeah.
But I do not know if we can confirm or deny the fact that Demdike had taught Chattox to be a witch by teaching her about the devil 14 years earlier.
That sounds like a lot of nonsense.
Well, I don't know if you were a witch. Why would you make your own arch enemy?
Yeah.
Seems like you would have more, I don't know, fucking forward thinking than that.
Hey, you never know. Look what happened between Darth Vader and the Emperor.
Well, that was a case of who's zooming who. But we're not getting into that. We can do that on the Patreon, because now we're going to talk about the fact that even though they were witches, we're going to talk about the Glendification of witches in Britain.
The Glendification? What's that?
Glenda was a good witch.
Oh, okay.
See, being a witch at the beginning of the 15th century was not a fucking terrible thing.
Right.
Because they could tell the difference between good witches and bad witches. They even had a rhyme.
Oh, thank goodness.
They had a rhyme.
Oh, wow. They had a
rhyme. They called the good witches cunning women. And they called bad witches witches. So.
Oh, it's pretty catchy.
And the rhyme was, cunning women heal, witches steal. I don't know why the witches are like petty thieves.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if it's in a rhyme, it must be true.
Well, the witches like gypsy, well, whatever they used to call
Roma. They wouldn't. They would have set one foot in fucking England and been burst into flames by the horrible English. So the cunning women, basically what the cunning women were doctors before they invented doctors, because they were like, well, if you've got a dropsy or some other fucking old-timey disease, they would send you to the cunning woman who would rub a leaf on you, and sometimes you would get better. And since nobody knew what medicine was, witchcraft was as good an answer as
what
anything.
Actually made you sick, yeah.
Right. And there weren't a bunch of doctors rubbing different leaves on people and writing competing peer-reviewed parchments against the cunning women.
Well, I guess the cunning women were competing with barbers.
True. Theodorus, Barber of York. So we live in a land where there's good witches and bad witches, but since the rhyme specifically said bad witches steal, and Mother Chattox stole oatmeal and clothes, that puts her in the bad witch camp.
Obviously a bad witch.
But since she learned witchery from Demdike, who introduced her to the devil,
I'm guessing Demdike's not a good witch either.
No, Chattox didn't have a chance. Chattox didn't have it. Now, she may have been cunning womaning herself, on the side, but it's kind of like if you heal a bunch of people by rubbing leaves on them, and then you do bad witchcraft like once, that spoils it.
Really?
Like they're not going to go, well, she also saved our village from the mud pox or whatever malady of the month there was, because all they remember is the great fucking oatmeal theft of 1602. And the great
oatmeal robbery.
And the vicious, slow murder of Christopher Holgate, during which he had time to lay in his bed and claim that Chattox did it.
He was a hero.
So people weren't mad. Basically, people weren't mad about witches because they're like, oh, somebody's going to fucking heal us from things.
Yeah.
And as a result, the king ruined it. The king.
Which king?
King James. The guy who wrote the Bible.
Oh, Jesus.
And he is that King James, by the way.
Yeah.
It's the same one. See, he was king of Scotland, and then Queen Elizabeth, the first Queen Elizabeth, died.
Yeah. Didn't have kids.
And he became king in 1603. And he was super Protestant.
Sure. Like Elizabeth.
The Protestants are the fucking quitters of religion. Oh, your religion's too hard. We're going to make one that's almost the same, but easier. Also, not as corrupt in the beginning. Later, we'll be just as corrupt. Right. James.
Yeah.
He thought, well, I'm pretty fucking smart. And I'm pretty religious. Also, I'm the king. And I am now interested in witches. Because witches were tied to Satan and demons and whatnot. And who were the people that, and I don't understand how they fucking maneuvered their brain around this, but apparently all the good parts of religion were Protestant, but demons and Satan and everything, well, that was the fucking Catholics. They're to blame for that. Those dirty Catholics are the witches because the devil.
Well, the Catholics were listening to the Pope, and the Protestants were listening to the King.
Right.
So, of course, he's going to shit on the ones that...
Right. So, he even went to Denmark to witness the trial of the North Berwick Witches.
Hot damn.
Now, the North Berwick Witches, I just wrote a big question mark in the outline because I did not look them up. Because I need to stay laser focused on the witches that we've fucking got in front of us. I can't be traipsing on.
What about our intern?
Our interns left in a cloud of scandal.
They've graduated and moved on.
They accused us of being grabby, but they meant snacks. We almost wish that they would have tried to touch our bodies. They just kept taking our lunch, said the interns as we took their lunch.
And it was hard because we were working remote.
Yep. So if you want to be an intern, then just go home for lunch and everything will be fine. Because we're not perverts. We're just hungry.
We're just fat.
Strangefulthings@gmail.com. That's how you apply to be an intern.
You know who's applying.
Oh, I know. So now, Jimmy got himself all wound up about witches. He was like, well, the fucking Berwick witches and now these Scottish Catholic
You
fuckers,
should have seen that trial.
they're against me. And this all started before he was even king. Like when he was just king of Scotland, which I guess meant you didn't really have tons to do. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like this is the kind of shit that would make English people really, really mad. I don't fucking care. You still have a queen, and you're all mad about it, and you also can't seem to do anything about it. So, I mean, yeah, we're a festering shithole, but at least we don't have a queen on our money. And when she dies, they have to change all their money.
Yeah. You got to change a lot of shit.
I watched it. Never mind. Focus. Witches.
Focused.
Jimmy.
We're not talking
wrote a
about
book.
Elizabeth II. Yeah.
He wrote a book.
Jimmy.
Well, not for nothing. Elizabeth
Besides
II.
the Bible?
She was alive when all this was going on, I think. Elizabeth II. She was young, but she was alive. He wrote another book called Demonology, and it was a witchcraft book with instructions on how to get witches. I mean, not like get them as in how to date them. Like
get
how
them?
yeah, no, like how
Dude,
to
I'm
catch
totally
'em.
going to get this witch over
Yeah.
here.
How to catch them. That's what I mean. Like,
Got to catch them all.
so one of the
With like a butterfly net.
one of the things that he did when he became king, like one of the first things, which nobody needed him to do, he declared that if you cast a spell on someone or you dug up corpses for your witchcraft purposes, the penalty was death. So he just put it right out there. Don't
That's cool.
fucking witch around.
Don't
because
be digging up bodies.
I am coming after you. So,
Well, not me, but, somebody.
well, now the
Sheriff
other thing
of Nottingham or some
This is-
shit.
this was a very exciting time in England because in 1605 the
Yeah.
Catholics were like, well, fuck these guys, we're gonna fucking do V for Vendetta Guy Fawkes mask and blow up Parliament with all this fucking gunpowder we have in these barrels. Well, this didn't work at all, and now we're kind of fucked.
Not at all. Yeah.
And this gave King James his like, well, see what I told you? The Catholics, they're no good.
We got to stop them. Yeah.
Not only are they launching supernatural warfare, but they have conventional weapons as well. Giant cartoon barrels of gunpowder with a long fuse coming out of it, I presume. Wearing spooky masks. Anonymous. So he decided that he was going to basically have his own English-only Inquisition.
Oh, that's cool. Because the other one wasn't enough.
Because he decided that if you were Catholic and fucking showy about it, and or witches, then you needed to be suppressed. So basically, he said, you know how in China now it's a law that if you're from China, you're automatically a spy for China, no matter where you are in the world.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he made it in England. If you were born in England and you're not already a witch or a Catholic, then you're a witch fighter. Everybody.
Oh, sweet. So there was a lot of like Buffys and Vin Diesels.
Right, except that they're like, fuck, I got fucking poison ivy. Also, I'm supposed to kill you. I don't know what to do because you're the only person that can help
You're the only
me.
one that can get rid of it.
Exactly.
Well, just so you know, there's no such thing as poison ivy in England.
Fuck you talking about? It's in my yard. You want to come over tomorrow and I'll show you? What do you mean?
You don't live in England.
Oh, in England. Oh, yeah, well, fine. Well, that's another thing that they fucked us over with.
They sent all their poison stuff here.
All your poisonous ivies, and you kept all the delicious, pretty
Your
ivies
oaks and
for yourself.
Freaking sumac.
Now we have a climate in which being a witch is not great. It's not great for your outlook because not only are they going to say, well,
your life expectancy.
That person is a witch. We need to fuck them up. And also they're probably Catholic or similar. And that's going to be a problem. Now, the witches on their side, who let me remind you, were doctors. However, they didn't know what a doctor is either. So as far as they were concerned, I'm a witch, because if being a witch means I rub stuff on you and stuff happens, or I do some other stuff and then a coincidence happened, well, fuck yes, I'm a witch. So why don't you give me some more money for my tinctures and potions and whatnot? Because they got to make a fucking living.
Yeah, of course.
And that made it worse because they couldn't hide. Because if they hid, they weren't going to make any money.
Right.
And since their occupation was witch, they had a real problem.
They might need to relocate.
Now, throw on top of that the fact that all this fucking mandating and whatnot was taking place in London.
Right.
Now, I know somebody who says they're from Lancashire. How the fuck do I know? It's the internet. But the person that I know that says they're from Lancashire hates London. Hates it.
Really?
Probably because they are a descendant of a witch. Because at the time, Lancashire, no joke, was considered full of troublemakers. It was a wild and disobedient, lawless area. Now, by the way, the Lancashire Witch Trials, also called the Pendle Witch Trials. So if you want to find out some more not fun facts about it, you can look it up that way. Pendle is another town near Lancashire. But Lancashire was in the song, so there's no fucking song about Pendles that I know anyway. When the Catholics tried to blow up Parliament and it didn't go great, they were like, you know where we should go? Lancashire.
Right.
And apparently they all booked it. Well, I don't know how fast you can book in 1605. So maybe by 1610 they got there because it was 230 miles away, which I assume is. I mean, in Dungeons and
like crossing the United States.
In Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
In Dungeons and Dragons, they say if you just walk normal, you can go 24 miles a day.
Mm-hmm.
You walk for 8 hours, 3 miles an hour, that's 24 miles. So if you just walk, if your job is walking, that's how far you're going to get.
Yeah.
And there's a guy on YouTube that actually tests the shit from D&D to see how realistic it is. So one day he's just like, well, I'm going to walk 24 miles in 8 hours. And he did it. He wasn't happy about it and he didn't have to fight any goblins or whatever, but still, it's possible. So I guess technically it would have been 10 days if they really hoofed it. Anyways, also D&D says that you can live on 1 pound of food a day, which is not
pound of candy and cake.
Now a pound of anything in D&D, it doesn't matter. It could be a pound of fucking chiclets, as long as it's a pound of quote unquote food, which apparently means it fits in your mouth. But we're not talking about any Dungeons or Dragons, but we are talking about witches.
We are.
And we're going to start talking about Alison Device. Now, Alison Device, let me remind you, was the one who said that Chaddix was the bad guy here. Remember? Before?
Right. Yep.
So now she's got, she's walking down the lane, or whatever it was.
Whatever they
going to
called
some
it
forest. And there's a peddler. And what's his name? I shit you not. Johnny Law. Now, they said John
bounty
Law.
Hunter and peddler.
I would have called him Johnny Law for sure. But he was a peddler. So he was just walking around. I'm off the clock. I'm just walking. I'm not peddling. I'm a fucking pedestrian.
I'm not peddling anything right now.
Why don't you sell me some pins? Back then, pins were a big fucking deal. They were
I buy loose
They were
pins.
fancy. They were important.
Ooh.
And they were of use to witches. See, back then, wait a minute. 16th or 15th century. 16th, 17th, 1920. No, see, I did it wrong. I always do it backwards. It wasn't the 15th. It was the 17th century.
The 1600s is the 17th century.
Fuck you, Eddie Izzard, who made a whole joke about people doing what I just did. Fuck. All right. Anyway, in 17th century, metal pins were a big deal, and supposedly they were needed for witch stuff, divination.
Really, like what?
Divination. Wart
Divination.
control.
Stabbing dolls.
Love magic. And
I'm going to need to stick this needle in your
she's
penis.
like, how about you give me some of these pins so I can stick them in Albert Fish's scrotum many years from now in America? And Johnny Law was like, prithee,
Right.
no, I shall not sell my pins to thee.
Prithee.
Get away, you don't have any money. I am a businessman. And then a Led Zeppelin song was born because Alison Device conjured.
Yes.
You probably think I'm going to say conjured a stairway to heaven. Wrong. Conjured a whole lot of love. Wrong.
Conjured physical graffiti.
Conjured the lemon. No. Our more witchified listeners will know she conjured a black dog.
Hey, mama said the way you move gonna make you sweat, gonna make you groove.
So the dog, she goes, oh, listen to me, Johnny Law. You're not going to fucking sell me your pins that I don't have any money to buy. So
What, am I not good enough for your pins?
get a load of this. And there's the dog. And the dog goes, hey, thanks for summoning me. What would you like me to do to this peddler? And she said, make him lame. And the dog was like, well, he's already pretty lame because
I'm going to teach him some bad jokes.
I'm going to insist on bringing my cousin to everything I'm invited to.
Oh, look, he drinks non-alcoholic beer.
And all he talks about is GoBots. And there's nothing wrong with him mentally. For the first 3 years, we thought there was, but then we realized he just really fucking likes GoBots. So she said, the dog that she just fucking manifested,
Conjured, yeah.
she tells him, well, make the guy lame. You would think by biting him? I think if you could conjure a dog, you could make the guy lame on your own.
You probably could have, you could have done something yourself.
She's got this convoluted Rube Goldberg device, and
Yeah, not to mention the fact that the dog's got to understand.
well, he's a devil dog, obvi. He's not just a regular rover dog. He
like
started
Brian
the conversation.
Griffin.
He said, what do you want me to do to that guy? He knew what was happening right off the bat. And she says, lame him. And he says, all right. And then John Law goes, well, F you, then, I'm leaving. And he doesn't get 300 yards, and then he just falls over. Son of a bitch. And he gets back up, and he finds his way to an inn, which apparently is true in Old England and in Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh,
And he
all right.
falls down again.
Oh,
And from a witchcraft standpoint, the spell that the devil dog cast on Johnny Law
yeah.
paralyzed the left side of his body and fucked up his speech and deformed
sounds
the
lame.
left side of his face, which was absolutely witchcraft and in no way a stroke. None.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a stroke at all.
Man, you know how my mother had more fucking strokes than a fucking Olympic crew event. Like,
Yeah, mine
had
too.
just-
Like a lot of those like mini jams.
Yeah, she was just like fucking showing off with all her shit. Like one day she fucking comes out of her bedroom.
Just had another one.
I don't feel right. Jesus Christ, your face is not even on your head. Like it's so far down. Jesus. Man, that was fucked up. Anyway, this happened to Johnny Law. And here's the Allison, who apparently was not wowed by the fact that she conjured a dog, was freaked the fuck out that her lame curse actually worked. And
holy shit!
She immediately repented. She like went, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean. Well, I did mean it, but I didn't.
I was just joking.
None of it's real. Don't you understand? We're just sort of doctors, and most of our stuff is bullshit. I don't understand what happened to you, but it's
well, she did conjure a dog, for fuck's sake.
That might have been flavor text. I'm not sure.
I was just holding a treat in my hand, and I got him come over.
So she felt shitty that her curse that she 100% put on the guy worked.
Right.
Which I'm sure fucked up her credibility in the witching community. I don't know. I'm sure that there was a lot of infighting.
I'm sure, yeah.
Then, meanwhile,
back at the Hall of Justice,
the king, who is still on his bullshit, informs all of the justice of the peace in the land to fucking start
via conference call
making lists. Now, when the government makes lists of people who are of a particular thing,
type,
like,
yeah.
So, how do I know? Wait. I mean, sometimes I guess it's okay, like if it's kidnappers or something.
For presents?
I don't know. But he was doing recusants. Now, a recusant is just somebody who refuses to obey the law.
Refuses to obey a law. See? I knew what it was.
But he made it mean, well, the law is don't be a fucking Catholic, which meant all the Catholics were immediately recusants.
Oh, well.
And the justice of the peace in Pendle Hill was Roger Noel.
His name's not exciting either.
And he thought, well, you know what? I'm up to my fucking ass in Catholics in this stupid fucking
up to my ass
Lancaster,
these blooming papists,
township bead jiggling mackerel snappers. I'm sick of them. I'm going to get in good with the king because I'm going to catch me more Catholics than anybody else. Because if I fucking stack up my list of naughty Catholic / witches, then we're going to have, good shit going on, and the king's going to like me, and then I guess I'll become a duke. I don't know what he was thinking, but anyway.
That sounds like something that could happen.
His fast track to success was built on the back of Catholics and witches.
Everybody who succeeded is based on the backs of somebody.
Here's I think this has to be fake, because John Law's son's name was Abraham Law, and it can't be. Like, the only thing that would have been worse if it had been fucking Solomon Law. Like, stop. You're so on the nose with your names. I know that it was olden times, so you didn't have a lot to pick from, but like,
yeah. We only had the Bible.
You were just naming people after whatever the fuck they were standing next to you when the first time you saw them. You could have named them anything. So the son is like, well, a witch killed my father. So he goes to see Noel and he says, I know where there's a witch. And not only that, but there's a bunch of them all together in the same house. Because remember,
nice,
the Demdikes, because everybody lived in the same house, because it was olden times and it made more fucking sense. It makes more sense now, but nobody does.
Right, because we can afford not to.
Well, yeah, because they suck. But still. Anyway, he says, all right, well, get a load of this. I'm going to fucking rat everybody out. So on March 30th, 1612, Allison, the one that fucking started it,
right, and
her brother James, because they weren't
no relation.
They were horrible, but apparently they were not misogynist, because they were happy to catch man witches as well.
Male witches
Right.
too, yeah.
And their mother, Elizabeth, who was not Elizabeth Demdike, it was Elizabeth Device. So Demdike was the grandma.
Okay.
But she says, all right, well, so Abraham says, hey, Noel, fucking get these guys. And Noel's like, well, hot diggity. I've got fucking witches that are probably Catholic. I don't know. How do you tell? The prayers are the same for the most part. I don't know. Anyway, there must have been a way. Allison.
I don't know. Their prayers don't have the king in it.
Allison, being a fucknut,
Catholics
immediately blurts out a complete confession because she felt so bad that her curse worked on Johnny Law. I done it. I sell my soul to the devil. That's for sure. And her brother was like, yeah, she did. She one time, according to the account, she bewitched a local child. I don't know. He probably said it more eloquently, or at least with a little bit more detail. But we're going to stick with bewitching a local child, and as opposed to she bewitched a foreigner. The child was from London, so no one cared because London sucks because we're from Lancashire and Pendle. And then Allison, being a fucking petty bitch, drags old Nana Demdike into it. Remember, she was fucking 80 when the whole thing started.
Yeah.
And then Allison's mother, Elizabeth, daughter of Demdike, and you know my mother does have the mark of the devil, huh? It's right on her foot or something. I don't know. Anyway, Noel, who was a thorough recusant smasher, was not ready to convict just on the basis of this one family ratting each other out. But Allison wasn't. Right.
Which is, pretty impressive for the time.
I mean, I know that it's rude and ignorant of us to just label old-timey people as morons and everything like that. But on the one hand, they make complex legal decisions.
They were.
On the other hand, they think that they can cure warts with pins. So
right. And when they would use dunking as a means to determine guilt. Like, if you drown, you're innocent. If you float, you must be a witch.
Yes. So
that's some pretty good reasoning there.
So Allison was like, hey, you want me to tell you some more witch stuff, do you? And Noah was like, I indubitably want you to tell me a lot more witch stuff because this is my ticket to London and out of this shitburg where I currently reside. So give me everything you've got. Fine. Guess who else is a witch? That fucking bitch, Mother Chaddix. My family's arch enemy, who was made a witch by my grandma, but never mind that. She killed 4 men by witchcraft, and she killed my father.
Just for snoring.
With an oatmeal hex, which you won't find in the book, but I assure you it's quite real because I fucked up John Law, which gives me witch credibility. Also, her daughter Anne Redfern. Ferns aren't red. That's suspicious. Well, that's true. We're going to bring them all in for questioning.
I've never seen a red fern.
Yes, you're right. That doesn't add up. So he hauls them all in.
Of course he does.
Demdike's like, I sell my soul to the devil. Fuck do I care? I'm already old. But Anne Redfern, she was like, fuck you. I am not a witch. I won't be told that I'm a witch. And then Demdike was like, I seen him making clay figures. That's odd, isn't it? And apparently that is odd. Ooh. Weird name, man.
Figures, you say?
Figure making. Well, did they have big giant cocks like all the old clay figures? Or giant tits? Like as soon as somebody made a fucking clay figure, let's give it a big, huge fucking rod, or big fat ass, and big milky jumbos. Like they always did. There was never a fucking.
They always did.
Fucking.
And he was always fully erect.
I'm sick of looking at all these skinny people. If I'm gonna make a clay print, they're gonna have a big fucking rod. Anyway. Noel gathers all his evidence, and he decides that he has enough
to bring it to the DA.
He arrests Demdike, Old Lady Chaddix, Anne Redfern, and Alison Device. He puts him in jail for maleficum, which is causing harm by witchcraft.
Oh.
I mean, it had a name.
Wonder if we have any of those laws on the books still, like here.
Maleficum! Probably.
Yeah.
No, it starts with male. They probably went through and took all those out.
That's a good point.
So now...
Put a fee in front of it.
So the two matriarchs and a couple, fucking bit players,
Randos.
They're in the fucking joint with Noel tenting his fingers, all excited. And they decide that the best idea, all the people that were left, they were like, we should do, let's have a fucking meetup. So...
You think that's what she said?
Well, it might have not been what she said, but it is exactly what they did. They went to Malkin Tower, which is not as cool as it sounds. They can't find any archaeological evidence of where Malkin Tower was. However,
it was probably made of wood.
The word Malkin meant poor or shabby woman. Mawkin was a lower class woman or a slut. Also, a cat, like an old cat. So I don't know. Hey, you fucking shabby old slut cat, get out of my yard.
That's fucked up. So like there even is like a word that means that.
So they had a big fucking meet. I don't know what the fuck. Like, I don't know if somebody like stood up at this. Excuse me, everyone. Like they're all fucking like wearing their big pointy hats and flying around on brooms and whatever. And all that fucking bullshit. Order. Excuse me. Order. We've got to get organized here. Remember, we can fly. So, like, James Device stole a sheep.
But it's crazy that they have all these powers and yet get caught and killed.
Yeah, just wait. No spoilers. So here's how it all went wrong. The fact that they had a fucking witch meetup was not the problem. It was not the problem. The reason that it got all investigated was because they were like, well, how come all these fuckers were having some kind of meeting when they were supposed to be at church because it was Good Friday?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
What were they up to? Having a Good Friday
Lord's work
brunch? He didn't know what it was, but he didn't like it.
The devil's dinner?
And not for nothing. These Catholics do like blowing things up, so maybe they were just gathering all their gunpowder together so that they could blow up the corner of the jail and allow the elderly women to escape. I don't like that.
I don't know about that.
So he's like, well, round them up.
Round them up.
So they get 8 more. And here's where enter the Nutters.
Well, just like, how did they pick out these new 8? Were like there other people that accused new ones, or was
Because
it the same person
knew
accusing
who was
more
at,
people?
They knew who was. It was all based on who was at the
At that meet
at the meetup, right? Including the Nutters. Now the Nutters were not like the other ones because the Nutters were rich.
They were crazy.
Richer than all the bums that was selling. I'll stick a pin in your wood for a farthing, or whatever the fuck they were trying to do.
Their money has fun names. And
they all started turning on each other.
Of course,
little Bobby Nutter. He got bewitched by old Granny Chaddocks.
Oh,
but supposedly. This is how fucking amazing this is. Supposedly, the reason was because Bobby Nutter's grandmother asked Mother Chaddocks to kill him so that his 2 girl cousins could inherit their land. Again, very convoluted, England.
Why did he need to die for that to happen?
Well, I don't know. Gentry. Fuck do I know?
Ugh, nonsense.
Now, the Nutters owned the land that Chaddocks and the rest of them, the Redferns, lived on. And they got roped into it. Supposedly, he was going to kick them off because Redfern wouldn't fuck him. Which, I mean, if there's a through line for lots of our stories, if you're a woman and you don't fuck someone, they're going to think
you're probably
they can
gonna die.
kill you or do something else terrible.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that somebody thought I was going to say, I'm not saying fuck them. Definitely don't. I'm saying don't talk to him so that it doesn't come up. Because I think it doesn't count.
You got to take care of yourself.
Don't take your headphones out. Because if you don't take your headphones out, then Bobby Nutter can't go, well, you fuck me then. And you don't have to say no. You can just like point at your ear and keep walking.
Just keep walking.
Like St. Jen Martinelli
Guys are fucking terrible.
So
guys are fucking awful.
So anyway, the fact is that they got a big fucking batch of people to put in the jail. And the thing is that, see, they kind of had it covered either way. And what I mean by that is it didn't really matter if they were witches, because even if they weren't, they were still Catholics.
They were still Catholics.
Right.
Yeah. It's 2 for 1 sale.
Into the joint. Elizabeth Device, Jimmy Device, Alice Nutter, Catherine Hewitt, who really wasn't part of the story, John and Jane Bullcock.
Oh, yeah, baby.
I mean, they should have been the first ones in the jail because they were the people that they were the ones getting the clay figures made of them. Alice Gray. So Alice Gray and then Janet Preston. But Preston lived in Yorkshire, so they were like, oh, go to the other.
Go do your witchery and
jail. Yeah,
we don't care about you.
Jurisdiction and whatnot. And so they had a thing called the Assizes. It's Assizes. That's what it's called. It is not assizes.
It's not.
No.
S's.
And that bothers me. Like it's a bummer. I wish it was assizes. It was a court that formerly sat in each county of England. Like it was like it was like a circuit court, I guess.
Oh, okay.
But it was the assizes, which, even though it's not really assizes, I choose to believe that it was assizes, and that was the beginning of sentencing guidelines based on ass size and the predilections of the judge doing the judging. If you had a big old fucking dump truck, down London town, probably you were gonna, I don't know, get a harsher sentence. Whereas a large butted woman from Wales, I don't know, maybe she would be exonerated completely. And it was all them skinny asses Men and women.
Did not know that's how they did it.
It's remember, 50-50 chance. Now, when all this went down at the ass sizes,
Yeah.
there was a dude named Tommy Knotts. Tommy Knotts, ancient ancestor of Don Knotts.
Spelled with a K or an N?
Oh, yeah, with a K, baby.
Oh, wow.
They had to
Just
use...
like Knott's Berry Farm.
England needs to put more letters than is necessary in their words because they invented the words and they're like, well, we got to get our fucking money's worth and throw a U in there.
Throw a lot of extra U's in, yeah.
Yeah, U, maybe a Q, I don't know.
And things with E's.
There was did you know, time out, everybody out in Strangeful Things land, I know that you've probably gone through a quaint little town and seen something called Ye Old and wondered, what the fuck is that? Well, there used to be another letter. And it looked like the Y, but it was the TH. And it has a name, and I can't remember what it was. But it was a letter. So it didn't say ye old, it was the old, but they stopped using that one character that stood for TH. So there you go.
The more you know.
I guarantee that somebody is going to point that out when they drive by a ye old something or other.
There you go.
I don't know why the S's look like F's, but that's a story for another time.
It always confused me with the Led Zeppelin album.
Yeah, and the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
What the fuck is the United?
I probably saw the Led Zeppelin album a lot more than I saw the Declaration of Independence.
These United Fataf. So, anyway, Tommy Knotts, he was the clerk of the ass sizes.
Huh.
And he's like, I'm going to write all this shit down because, I'm going to write all this shit down because I'm going to be famous. And I'm the only one in the town what can write. Which means that I can be very sloppy with my spelling and grammar because there's nobody to check. I'm going to sell all my books down in foofy London where they all think they're so fat. Fuck them. I'm from Lancashire.
A lot of London hating.
Because London sucks, that's why. Anyway, they think they're so big. Fuck them. So
big. Think that
everything came together at the same time because the king was all like, you know what I don't like? Catholics. You know what I say Catholics are? Witches.
Witches, yeah.
And then Noel was like, you know where I'd like to live? London, because I'm a dickhead, and that's where all the dickheads live. I would like to get a fancy apartment, perhaps near where they tried to blow up Parliament. I don't know. I just want to get out of here because I'm not Catholic, and these people are creeping me the fuck out. So let's all help each other. And they said, all right, well, we're going to have a trial.
Let's cleanse this bitch.
And Tommy Knotts wrote that down. And then apparently after he learned that, he hatched his plan to write a book, even though it was his job to write it down anyway, but whatever. So that's the book I was talking about. We have a book.
Right. Well, we don't have a book.
Now they threw some other witches in with the Pendle witches.
Just some randos that they found walking around.
Witches are from Samlesbury. We don't give a fuck about them. Well, they killed children and ate them, so they're not great. We're going to put them in there. Also, there's one from Padiham, and this is the third time she's been up here. And this time she killed a horse, and they're valuable.
Yeah.
So in July of 1612, and then, well, that was when the York one was. And since this is about the Lancashire witches, we don't care. Because she was a York witch. And they think they're so big.
Yeah, they're so special.
So, but she got sentenced to death and hanged. But she was from York, so no one felt bad. I mean, maybe her family, but yeah, whatever. This isn't a story about Janet Preston. from
Yorkers were the
Gisborne
worst, man.
in
Just the worst.
Yorkshire. Everybody else in Lancashire, they're the fucking money. And Noel was the prosecutor. Now, he was sitting on a big fucking tank of evidence because little did everyone know there was
Dun-dun-dun.
one more Demdike's brood. And I know that you've all been keeping really close track of this.
Track
There
of all of them?
was
Yeah.
another device. The last device was Janet. I like to say Janet because it's easier to say fucking Janet, which is that section of the outline. It's actually called fucking Janet.
Huh.
Janet was not accounted for. Where did Janet go when they put the rest of her family in jail? Except for the father that they didn't really mention, but whatever. So she was 9, and she never fit in with the rest of the family.
Uh-oh.
Did Janet? Because she wasn't a witch. Also, was probably a bastard child, which made things tense. I don't know how you figure that. Like, how does that? Like, I get it if you're a guy and you go have sex with someone else, and that someone else has a child, that child is a bastard because you're like, no, fuck, yeah, don't come around here. I'm staying over here in my house. But if you're living with, like, if you're just living there and all of a sudden your wife is pregnant, that's gonna raise eyebrows unless they fuck so much that they're like, oh, it's gotta be mine. I don't know. I'm just fucking, it's drenched in there all the time. I am constantly jizzing, no way to tell. I don't know how she would have had an affair because she didn't have time. If she's not casting spells or milking cows or whatever the fuck else I make her do, I'm banging her. But anyway, poor Janet. Well, not poor Janet. Kind of fuck Janet. Because they brought... Janet was the star witness of the whole trial. Knowles was all excited. She said, I'm going to...
Was he wearing a powdered wig?
I don't know. Gunpowder? He said, blowing up the courtroom. So, I'm just going to give you a little bit of it, right? Because we're going long, because big fucking surprise. I'm going to give you a little rundown of the fucking shit talk from Janet.
Okay. Let's hear it.
She says,
well, Elizabeth had been a witch for like 3 years or maybe 4 years, even though that would mean I was only fucking 5 when I first learned she was a witch, which doesn't sound credible, but she had a familiar. He was a dog. He wasn't black, though. He was brown, and he was called Bull instead of dog. Also, he talked to my mother and planned out murders.
You mean the brown dog named Bull talked to your mother about murders?
That's right. Why wouldn't you believe me?
Said Janet. And murmur, said the court. And then she said,
now I'm going to tell you everything that happened at Slut Tower.
Do you mean Malkin Tower?
Yeah, but it's Slut Cat Tower. It's cooler to say.
So she says,
here's who was there. Here's what they ate.
This is directly taken from court records.
Right from the transcript.
This dialogue, yeah.
Including the fucking sheep that my brother stole, probably. And then the broom flying. And they playing the murders with the dog. And so forth.
So forth and henceforth with.
My... allow my brother to bolster my case.
So James pops up. Well, I've got to admit, my mother did make clay figures of I'm going to say they're of her victims as long as her victims had giant tits and cocks, because that's all she made. And then little Janet was like,
That's right. See, listen to my brother. He backed up my story, but also, guess what? He's a fucking witch, too, because I heard him doing witch things in the house.
This is great.
Now, she started describing the incantations
Right.
that she supposedly heard her brother say, except that it, like, I guess with further analysis, big surprise, she was just mixing up a bunch of shit she already knew, like prayers.
Right.
Well, what did he say?
Well, he started out with our father, devil, our devil, who art in hell. Is it, what's the opposite of hallowed? Because that's what he said his name was.
Cursed.
Cursed be thy name.
Now, Noel was pleased as punch to fucking have all this kick-ass testimony from this 9-year-old bag of nonsense.
Yeah,
Why?
that's some quality testimony.
Because guess what said that children should be allowed to testify against witches? Good old King Jimmy's demonology book. So Noel's like, Lord, what precedent? Oh, I can fucking look at this Waggles book.
Oh my God.
Sounds right. So now the judge, and this is, I'm not, everybody figures, all right, well, Noel's just told the girl what to say. But the judge was like, all right, well, I don't believe you. So they made a lineup of all the people that were in Malkin Tower, or that she said were in Malkin Tower, and a bunch of randos. Right. And unless the accused were literally dressed in cartoon witch costumes with like striped stockings and everything else, and the other people were wearing tuxedos
with a green skin.
Their faces were green, right? Janet picked out the right ones.
So those are the ones that were there. They're the witch ones.
And the judge was like, well, have you ever seen Lady Farthington something or other? And he just made up a name because he was trying to trick her. I mean, he didn't sound as stupid as I just did, because he was legitimately trying to figure out if she was lying.
Right.
Have you ever seen this person? He throws out some name.
She's like, no, I never heard of that person. They weren't at the witch meetup.
And then the judge was like, well, I'm convinced.
I tried to
by process of elimination, guilty.
Was eliminated. Yes. Oh, that's nice.
Apparently, the dog may also have been named, instead of Bull, Ball, which is not better. Not better. Also, as part of the whole thing, Janet said that her brother asked the dog to help him kill somebody, because apparently the fucking linchpin of all witchcraft was conjuring dogs
and getting them to do your bidding.
And who gets blamed now? Cats.
Yeah, exactly.
So Big Dog, obviously,
I don't trust cats. They're always planning something.
It's fucking bullshit. Big Dog was like, well, we're getting caught out here by our fucking obvious demonic whatnot, and we can't have this. Blame the cats. So they did some kind of fucking Chick-fil-A cow fucking trickery thing and convinced everybody that cats were the bad guys.
Huh. That's something.
So they were like, well, let's fucking sort all this out now. Alice Gray, you, side character, red shirt, not guilty. I don't know why. Get out. Demdike.
Demdike's dead.
What are you making?
She died in the jail. Because, in case you didn't remember, she was fucking 80 years old. They stuck them all in a fucking one room, and they all had to sit in each other's poop, and it wasn't nice, and she died.
Obviously, she was guilty
Right.
because the Lord Satan took her early because she was an important general, I assume. Now, here's my Allison device, Elizabeth device, the mother, James device,
Right.
Anne Whittle, Anne Redfern, Alice Nutter, Catherine Hewitt, and John and Jane Bulcock.
Bam.
Guilty! And on August 20th, 1612, they hanged every fucking one of them
Ugh.
because of fucking Janet.
Yeah. And that's an interesting little thing how they hanged them. You always talk about burning witches, but they didn't actually really burn them. They usually hanged them.
So now, this was a big fucking deal. Honestly.
Yeah.
Because, remember, not only was it, witchcraft nonsense, but other people got killed just because they were Catholics. Some of the
Catholics, yeah.
two of the other nutters, they got killed for being Jesuit priests. But it was like back in the 1500s. So they said, all right, well, this ass size is over, and everybody that was a witch is dead.
Let's fuck.
And they said,
sorry.
That's right. What are they, Rodney Dangerfield? Everybody's going to complain. So they gave them the opportunity to give their last words. Some of them confessed. Elizabeth Device and Alice Nutter were like, fuck you. We're not.
Why don't they cast a spell?
Don't talk to the cops. And then it became, well, what about letting a 9-year-old essentially cause the death of many, many adults based on nonsense?
No evidence, just the words of a 9-year-old.
I don't care how long this fucking show is, because guess what? Janet, get out your fucking irony needlepoint. I don't know. Here comes Edmund. In 1634, this is 22 years after Janet had condemned, like, basically everybody she knew personally to death.
Yes.
She was just hanging out, doing whatever the fuck. And a little scamp named Edmund Robinson came home late, and his parents were like, "Where are you, Edmund?"
Punk.
And this is what Edmund said.
Well, I was picking berries, you see, and I seen 2 greyhounds, them really fast dogs from the side of the bus. And I tried to play chase with them, and they wouldn't run around. So I took a fucking stick and I started wailing on them. And when I did that, they got pissed, and one turned into a witch, and the other one turned into a boy? Yes, a boy. And then what happened was the witch did a spell, and she turned the boy into a horse. Right. So then there was a witch and a horse and me, and she put me on the horse that was inexplicably a boy a minute ago, and then they brought me to a house, and they tied me up with ropes. And if I pulled on the ropes, really delicious food came down. But then I got scared, and I ran.
What the fuck?
I thought you were tied up.
Well, I wasn't. That was a mistake. I ran away after I pulled the food ropes, and I almost was home, and I saw another boy, but he had what are the kind of feet that goats have?
Hoofs?
Yeah, the cloven hoofs. The boy had cloven hoofs, and I fucking said, "You want to go, cloven hoof boy?" And he said yes, and then we fought, and that's why my clothes are dirty.
Wow.
And his parents said, "We're going directly to the police to report all of this because holy fucking shit,
And they say parents now are like that. Holy shit.
we have to fight. I cannot believe my Edmund had food pulling ropes and a dog that he admitted hitting with a stick that turned into a witch, and then a boy, and then a horse, and then there was another. This is fucking awful."
And then he was tied up, and then he wasn't tied up, and then...
Well, guess who it turned out that they were blaming for all this shit?
Janet.
Fucking Janet.
Damn it, Janet.
I was waiting for that. Except that, unfortunately, for us listening to this story hundreds of years later,
Yes.
20 years apparently makes a big fucking difference when you're stupid England because you killed Catholics, but you didn't kill all of them. So really,
Right.
you're just jerks because if you were going to do it, then do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Right,
I'm
because
not
if you
saying-
leave the small group, then you're going to keep the tension forever.
I'm not saying that the Protestants would have been better because every time something happened that they didn't like, they just made a new religion.
Yeah, I just made something up.
So whatever. It's
Then
all
again,
made up
they're all
anyhow.
made up, right?
Yeah. But I'm just saying that they copied Catholics' paper.
Oh, yeah.
It was like they said, "Oh, no, we have Star Wars, but it's not Darth Vader. It's Darth Jones. It's completely different. It's not the Force. It's called the Power. So why don't you give us some money? And also, we can fuck whenever we want. And we do. We're the fuckingest island in the continent. And we're going to fuck our way around the world."
Wow. Your throat's going to hurt, man.
It seemed,
Well, yeah, because in addition to the fucking these oral things,
oh, you mean because of the accent?
you don't want to do no oral things
I'm going to suck a hoe.
back then.
Anyway,
So they, Janet apparently didn't get killed. So that blows
Oh,
because of
that's
fucking
nice for her.
modern nonsense, except they think that Janet may have died in jail waiting to be found not guilty. So
Oh, wow.
as long as she died for a thing that she did when she was 9, when she was obviously bullied, yeah, I don't know who to root for in this.
Yeah, there is nobody like...
You know who I'm going to root for? Against England. Go
Yeah, well.
France. I'm sure that France was over there. Sacre bleu, animals. We want to make sure that later on we force them to spell Concord with an E because it's very French. And they don't want the E, but fuck them because look what they have done. Also, we did shit, but never mind.
Right.
So in 1988, people were like, well, we got nothing to do. Hey, Home Secretary of England, which is a thing, I guess. You know what you should do? You should pardon the Pendle witches.
Huh.
Because right now our country has on the books that we killed a bunch of people because they were witches. And newsflash, witches aren't real.
No witches. Yeah.
So the Home Secretary...
Yes, because we killed them all.
This is what the Home Secretary said. The Pendle Witches were apparently convicted according to the law of the time, harsh though it seems by modern standards. As I have indicated, the Home Secretary would generally consider intervening in a case such as this only if evidence came to light which showed conclusively that the Pendle Witches did not commit crimes with which they were charged. On the basis of the material we have, Witch's case does not appear to be one where it would be appropriate to recommend a posthumous pardon. Apparently, the evidence of witches aren't real
isn't enough.
Was not compelling enough.
Not enough
for the Home Secretary.
Not enough. He goes, they're not real because we killed them all.
Well, yeah, but that would just mean they're not real.
Job.
Yeah, but no, it's learned. You can't. You're not. It's not like fucking Hogwarts. Fuck her.
It could be like the Jedi when Luke burned all the Jedi knowledge.
Also, fuck them too. Fuck all of them, because I say that if you want power, read a musty book and do some sexy blood thing at midnight under the moon.
It could be Samuel Tawley.
So, the moral of this story, 9-year-old kids suck. England sucks. Don't say which is your job if you smell the winds of anti-witchery coming. And now, 80 years after all the Pendle Witch stuff, the 4,000 holes in Blackburn, Lancashire, were filled with witches. Since America learned it from watching you, England, we got our own witch trials, which were not as jazzy, I guess, even though it was kind of the same. I think the best thing of the whole story was Edmund's fucking nonsense. That was...
Yeah, there's a lot of nonsense.
Like, even reading it, you could tell he was making it up as he went along. He was Kaiser Sozeing the whole thing.
Yep.
So, what do we learned? Everything is terrible.
Yeah, that's not usually the lesson.
Demdike
is a fun name.
That's fun. A lot of fun names. I will give them that.
A lot of fun names tonight.
Here's another fun thing that you can remember. allmylinks.com/strangefulthings. That's where you're going to get the good stuff. And
all the good stuff.
And Shuey keeps that page fucking updated like a fucking champ.
Daily.
Because
fucking daily, yo.
He changes that thumbnail every week when we have a new episode. And by every week, I mean no weeks.
Yeah. Hey, I still did the site in the first place.
That was a year ago.
Hey. Who's counting?
Well, apparently
was
me.
Was it that long? No, it wasn't that long ago.
I got the records.
It was this season.
No, it wasn't.
It was this season.
You're fucking whacked. It was Nub City.
Pretty sure it was this season.
How long ago was Nub City?
Oh, it was Nub City. It was Nub City.
Nub City was a long fucking time ago. You know what? I'm going to look at now that you know what, folks? There's no more show. So, if you got to go, I understand.
So keep on.
No, but you can't say it yet because you can't say it because... No, because that's the second to the last thing that gets said. Okay, I take it back. Nub City was in September of 2021. So it was 9 months
not
ago.
A year, 9 months.
It was a baby ago. All right, so now you can say it.
Oh, now I can say it? Yep. Keep on flapping, everybody.
Bye-bye.